Coming up on this episode of The Power of Real Estate.
When I meet with them, it may not even be talking about real estate right now. It could just be talking to them for them to get to know me, who I am. And so I want to build that trust, and I want to tear down that bad stigma in their mind from what happened last year when they tried to sell a home and it didn't work out.
Michelle, are you ready?
Hit it, hot stuff.
She spent over 20 years as a successful realtor and realtor coach, recipient of over 40 sales, leadership, and literary awards from the legendary Music Row in Nashville. This is The Power of Real Estate with Michelle Moore.
Hello and welcome. All right, here in the studio with Adonis Lindsay. He is an author, a speaker, a TV host, a podcast host, all kinds of stuff. Nice to have you in the studio, Adonis.
Yes, always a pleasure and a joy to join you guys. So thanks for having me out.
Yes, thank you for coming back in. We've been blessed to have him quite a few times here lately to come into the studio. I think this is about your third time, so I'm excited that you're here. Adonis also is an instructor with my real estate school. So he actually helps to teach CE classes in the state of Tennessee to real estate agents. So I'm so excited about that. Adonis, all right, so let's talk about 3 ways to anticipate the needs of your clients. Ooh, talk about customer service.
That's it. That's good customer service right there. When you can sit down and you can kind of project what that client is going to need. Mm-hmm. You know, I tell people that all starts with a conversation. And that conversation is, to me, is getting to know that person. Within about 5-10 minutes of a good conversation, you're able to make an assessment of their personality. You're able to make an assessment of their temperament. You're able to make that assessment. Okay, man, are they a little skeptical? You know, just kind of get that good read, and then that's going to allow you to make sure you present yourself in such a way that it creates a joyous occasion for them.
Mm-hmm. That's good. And I also think about just even the things that they may need, you know, like you were saying in a show before about, you know, trying to treat everybody like they were a first-time home buyer. But sometimes you get with people and they may not know as much about a certain area of buying or selling as they may need to know or should know or whatever. And so one of the things that I have done through the years is, I've got an example, is like when someone lists with me, mm-hmm. I have a handout that's 101 ways or something like that, 97 or something, but it's a point checklist. It's like a 97-point checklist on professional photography and videography. And so when they list with me, right as we're doing the listing presentation or the listing paperwork, I'm also giving them this document that's 4 pages branded to me, all that, 3 pages, whatever. I say, look, don't be overwhelmed by the number.
That is so
97.
key, yes.
But photography and videography, you know, remember I said just a few minutes ago in my marketing plan that we do professional photography and videography. So in photos and videos, everything shows up. So I'm going to give you this checklist for you to look through. It's broken down by room and all this. But this is an example. So that's kind of an example of me anticipating. Is that kind of something?
Yeah, exactly. And the reason I said start with that conversation, because you're able to, within a few minutes, you're able to see if that person is computer literate. Especially if they're selling somewhere, they're going to be going online, looking at the area. Then you're able to come back and maybe shorten that up a little bit and say, here's 4 websites for you to log on to kind of get a feel of something like that. So I think it's key to give them as much as they need. But I still go back to number 1 is let's have that conversation with that person to fill them out, because, start with the person, then the property. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So start with that person first, because, you can't get to the property without getting to the person first. So start with the person. Let's go back to that initial conversation, assessment. Okay, they're a little skittish. Maybe they've been burned by a, you think about
bad
that.
Experiences.
So right there in that conversation, they're going to let you know that they've been burned with a bad experience.
Yeah.
And so you're filing all this away before you present them with something.
That's good.
So that is so key.
So Adonis has brought us 3 ways to anticipate the needs of your clients. So all right, Adonis, what is way number 1?
Way number 1, after you've had that conversation, you've talked to that person, you've anticipated something, so you've gathered some information, some knowledge from them. And so here's the first way you can anticipate what they're going to need is by understanding their personality. I still go back to the person, Michelle, understanding their personality. Okay, they're going to need a less tense environment when they talk to me. Mm-hmm. Or when we were talking, they're not gonna need me to bombard them with a bunch of phone calls or quick instructions. This person has been burned, but they still want to sell this property, so they're gonna need me to walk them by the hand.
Yeah.
And that's just a need. And so I anticipate that because it's like I've already had that conversation. I've got to tear down that wall and get that out of their mindset that this is another deal that's going to leave them burned. And so that needs to be, I have to anticipate, hey, when I meet with them, it may not even be talking about real estate right now. It could just be talking to them for them to get to know me, who I am. And so I want to build that wall, that trust, and I want to tear down that bad stigma in their mind from what happened last year when they tried to sell a home and it didn't work out.
Yeah, that's so good.
So that's going to be the first anticipation. They need me to walk them by the hand.
And I think so many times, too, people underestimate how personality types play into everything.
Everything. That's why I'm so big on people.
Yes.
Because you have to know people.
That's right. That's right. So good. So we got Adonis Lindsay here in the studio with us. We're covering 3 ways to anticipate the needs of your clients. Adonis, what is way number 2?
Way number 2, by then you've done a good job of getting to know that person and you're building that rapport. They're selling their home. Once again, you're treating them like a first-time client.
Yes.
And it's like you've done a walkthrough with their home. And then in that walkthrough, you've anticipated, okay, they're going to need to, like you said, a checklist. So you went through that home. And, man, they're going to need to paint a couple walls. Mm-hmm. They're going to need to clean some carpet. They're going to need to fix up a few things outside. And number one, because you've done your homework and you've started first with building the rapport with the person, you know how to present that list to where it's not overwhelming.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to, give them a big, huge to-do thing. But once again, you're walking them by the hand. It's like, hey, I'm going to give you 5 things, and then we're going to do those together, and then I'm going to come back and give you another 5 things.
Yeah.
Because that's, once again, you're anticipating, okay, they need to do all this, but man, I don't want to overwhelm them because they're still dealing with that bad experience.
That's right. That's right. And they're already overwhelmed pretty much with just the thought of selling, right?
Exactly.
Getting their home ready for the market or buying a home and getting through the home approval process. So, because that in itself. So the big part is, I always try to make things kind of breezy.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch the Friends where Monica's like, and I was breezy. But it's like, you want to be kind of breezy about things and say, oh, no big deal. We're going to take care of this, and blah, 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 and how can I help? And so I call it a honey-do list, and, we just make it kind of easy and breezy. I just had a closing recently, and, oh, my goodness, that home. I had sold the home to her 7 years ago as a single mom. She's gotten married, and now they were upsizing, and he had so many things he had to do to this home to get it ready.
Yeah.
And so at the closing table, I gave him a gift card. I'd already done something for both of them, but I was like, he had mentioned, somehow it'd come up about a certain restaurant, and he's like, I work right by there. I love that place. And I was like, And so I said, look, at the closing table, I said, look, here's the thing. I said, girl, me and you, we family. And I said, but here he's been through the ringer. We have put him through the ringer, all the deferred maintenance, because she's just a single mom. She didn't know. And so it was like, he was fixing so many things. It's like when his list would get done, I'd give him 5 more things, and just one thing after another. And so I gave him a gift card. I said, here's a week of lunches.
Yeah.
I said, you deserve them if anybody's ever deserved them. And I just said, I just appreciate you. I've loved getting to know you. But you're just such a God, it's a great godly man. And I was like, but, we put you through the ringer.
Yeah.
But just even acknowledging that after the case, was good.
That's funny because that's almost my point number 3.
Oh, okay. Whoops. So 3 ways to anticipate the needs of your clients with Adonis Lindsay. What's way number 3?
I think, the third thing is, and I experienced this as well, I go back to you've gotten to know the person, and they're not only dealing with you, but then it's like if they're selling their home, they're dealing with buyers. So you have to anticipate that client is going to need a buffer.
Yeah.
And you have to be that buffer.
Oh, yeah.
For
a good buffer
for that client to where when buyers are putting all these demands and they want certain things fixed up, and you have to be able to know what that client is going to be okay with and what they're not going to be okay with, but you have to be that buffer and that mouthpiece for that client. I mean, we were selling a home and it was so the buyers bring in their agents, they walk through, and so there was some AC duct that was in my garage at one of the first homes we sold. And the way it was going up into the garage, it looked like it wasn't metal. It looked like it was flex duct, okay? Mm-hmm. But they were like, well, you got to rip all that out or you got to close all that. And I'm like, man, what is this? This past inspection, And so I got a little frustrated. I remember calling an AC guy. He came over, got up there. He goes, man, this is not flex, it's duck. It was wrapped. And so I'm like, man, but I thought about all the thoughts that were running through my mind and the frustration I was going through. I'm like, I'd buy this house right now. What do they do? They want me to rip all this out. But it's like, we had a great real estate agent that was at Buffer.
Yeah.
And that liaison that communicated back and forth. And I think that is so key because you don't, that's the part you want to shield from your client, especially if you're dealing with a client that's been burned before. And so you have to anticipate that you're going to have to be a good buffer, and you're going to have to know, once again, when you've given them that list that they can handle, but then there's things that they cannot handle. And it doesn't mean that you lower your integrity. You're truthful with them, but you let them know, hey, I'm going to handle that for you.
Yeah. And I would say, too, a quick point of that is also just how the agent handles, so many times, and I coach and teach this about, be careful not to be all mad and upset about something on an inspection list and get your clients all fired up about nothing. So that's not being a good buffer. And so you got, being a good buffer means an awful lot of things in the real estate industry, going back and forth between your clients, but also with your clients. I had a client a seller, and they were also buying through me, and they were getting upset because they felt like they were giving and giving and giving, and they're like, well, what is the seller giving? Yeah. And I said, well, now let's take a minute here, because it's easy for us to forget that when we've initially negotiated, you got this and you got that and this, and they've done this, and don't forget this. And then they went above and beyond before they even listed the home and did something almost nobody does, which I had told them that up front and said, they got a pre-home inspection, and they corrected some things. And so I, it's not that I'm trying to, sell them on, so I was just putting all the facts before them and helping them to remember, because you see 100% of what you do. You don't always see 100% of what someone else does. Yeah. And when that's the case, it's easy to forget what all they have done. So it's just about kind of bringing it back and saying, okay, here's the center. And, you love this home, right? And so reminding them what they love about the home and helping them get to where they want to be ultimately. That's really all it's about.
Yes,
but being that good, but by being that good buffer.
Good buffer.
So, good stuff.
And you're ready for that. I mean, and once again, I think if any agent would treat every client as if they're their first time home buyer or seller, it just helps you keep all those skills ready, and you're bringing all that to the table all the time.
All right. That's so great. So Adonis, Lindsay here in the studio sharing 3 ways to anticipate the needs of your clients. Adonis, someone wants to reach out to you. What's the best way to get you?
They can go to my website, adonislenzy.com. That's ADONIS, Lindsay, LENZY.com.
All right. Well, we appreciate you being in the studio. You're going to have to come back sometime.
Yes, anytime.
I love it. That's right. Ow! All right. Well, we'll see you next time right here on The Power of Real Estate with Michelle Moore.
Realtors, if you're ready to jumpstart your business, Michelle has your realtor coaching covered at realestatecoachingsimplified.com. Everything from coaching online teachings to in-person programs. Join us next time for The Power of Real Estate with Michelle Moore.